Chelsea have a big problem on their hands, from the ripple effect of the Club World Cup to finally stumbling on a solution in defense, to the mystery behind why Guiu is not playing, and even the latest twist in Nicolas Jackson's future. But before we dive into it, if you are new here, welcome back to the channel. But if you have been following me for a while, you know the drills. We're on the road to 10k subscribers, so like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. We are starting to see a worrying trend at Chelsea, and it's not about tactics or transfer, it's about injuries. Some of our most important players are literally playing through pain. According to Marc Guiu from the Daily Mail, Moises Caicedo, Joao Pedro, Enzo Fernandez are all carrying a knock. And to make matters even more concerning, our manager Enzo Maresca has confirmed that Andre Santos will be out until the international break. Now fans will look at this and say this is a Chelsea problem, but I completely disagree. This isn't just about us. Look at PSG as an example. They went out and beat Barcelona without players like Desire Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele, Marquinhos, and even Joao Neves, who actually picked up an injury in the warm-up. They are fighting the same thing at the top level of football. It's not just isolated to us. And don't forget, Liverpool suffered an ACL shortly after the Club World Cup. That's a long-term blow for us. Now and again, this raises question. Is this the effect of the Club World Cup? And are we now paying the price with this muscular problem and players running on fumes? When I look at it, it feels like the Club World Cup left us in a physical vulnerable state. We are having to rush players back. Others are pushing themselves through knocks. And young players like Santos, Delap, and Palmer are picking up issues because the schedule doesn't simply give them a break. For me, this is where the conversation gets serious. We can't say it's bad luck. We can see the pattern. It's the same after every international tournament or a mid-season event. Our squad gets stretched, players don't recover properly, and the injuries start to pile up. So the question we need to ask, how do we manage this better? Because right now, we are working on a very fine line between competing at the highest level and risking burnout. And while we are talking about injury crisis and the fact that so many of our players are carrying a knock, it brings me to another interesting situation. Marc Guiu. As Marc Guiu reported, if Marc Guiu plays a single minute for Chelsea, he would no longer be eligible for a loan move in January. The rule is simple. A player cannot represent more than 2 clubs in the same season. Since Marc Guiu already featured for Sunderland earlier this campaign before joining us, appearing for Chelsea will lock him in for the rest of the year. And that is exactly what The Athletic has pointed out. Guiu hasn't played a single minute since returning. And it's surely a factor in Maresca's decision making. As much as we like to see him in the pitch, the club has to think carefully about his development. Playing him now will effectively shut the door on a loan move in January, where he could get consistent minutes. We already see signs of this management in recent games. Instead of turning to Guiu, Enzo Maresca actually placed Tyreek George as a number 9. And that was a big hint. It shows that Chelsea are deliberately holding Guiu back, or maybe for a good reason. Because here is the exclusive. Chelsea already have a pre-agreement to sign Emanuel Emegha in 2026. Fabrizio already confirmed it. Here we go, Emegha will join Chelsea on a 7-year contract. But for now, he stays at Strasbourg, leading them in Europe before making the move in 2026. And when you put all these pieces together, it makes sense. If the plan for Marc Guiu is to actually switch to Strasbourg on loan, and then in January secure Emegha early arrival to give us another striker option, then the club don't clearly want to waste Guiu eligibility by playing him now. So while it may look frustrating to us, seeing a talented striker like Marc Guiu on bench and not getting minutes, there is actually a long-term strategy at play. We are protecting his loan option and we are preparing for Emegha arrival. In a way, it shows the club are thinking 2 steps ahead. We will be suffering with injuries, but instead of rushing Guiu and limiting his developments, the club are keeping him ready for a move. Where he can play consistently. And in the meantime, players like Tyreek George gets their chance to step up. Why the Marc Guiu situation makes sense now? When you look at the club long-term plan, it reminds us that the club have been forced into constant reshuffling. Nowhere is that more obvious than in our defense. It's no secret ever since Liverpool picked up that devastating injury. We had a real centre-back problem. Our backline has looked poor at times, unstable, and honestly, we have struggled to find the right balance. But just like Marc Guiu's case, sometimes this challenge forces us into solutions we never thought about. Take Badiashile's performance against Benfica as example. He came in, he played 81 minutes, put in a solid shift, a 7.4 rating with 3 clearances, 2 interceptions, 2 tackles, and crucially, he wasn't dribbled past once. Now I know Benfica aren't Premier League opposition, but you can only play what's in front of you. And the truth is that the basics were there. His positioning looked sharp and he stayed calm on the ball. And defensively, he gave us a foundation to work with. Alongside him was Chalobah, who had a good outing. The problem, Chalobah won't be available on Saturday against Liverpool. That's a massive blow, because just when it looked like we stumbled on a recipe for success, a stable pairing that gives us confidence is gone. And that leaves us with few options. If Tosin Adrabayo is available in time, then it looks like it will be him and Badiashile. If not, we are going to be seeing Achampong step up. And honestly, that would be a huge test for the youngster. Playing Liverpool at Stamford Bridge with Salah, Isak and Gakpo running at you is about as big as a challenge as it gets. The bigger picture here is that Chelsea are still searching for stability in defense. We have been forced to mix and match because of injuries. But the encouraging sign is this: when given a chance, players like Badiashile and even Chalobah have shown they can step in and deliver. So maybe, just maybe, it looks like we have stumbled on the first step to solving our defensive problem. A combination that works, at least until Korea returns and we can get back to full strength. But moving on, let's talk about Nicolas Jackson, because there is a big development in his situation. According to Graham Bailey, Bayern Munich have already informed Nicolas Jackson that they want to keep him beyond this season. And what makes this even more interesting is that they have told him this, even if the obligation to buy in his deal with Chelsea is not met. For me, this speaks volume. It tells us that Bayern sees something in Jackson that maybe we didn't get to see consistently. We all know what Jackson is all about: raw pace, work rate, pressing from the front, and flashes of a natural finisher. But he's also a young striker who has ups and downs in his first 2 Premier League seasons with us. And yet Bayern are already convinced enough to want to make him part of their long-term project. From our perspective, it raises some big questions. Do we look at this and think we did give up too soon? Or do we say this was always part of the plan? Sending him somewhere like Bayern and letting him grow under less pressure. Maybe even cashing in if the permanent deal goes through. What I see here is a club in Bayern that believes in nurturing talent. And they are telling Jackson, we want you. Even before the deal is fully locked in. That's the kind of phase that do wonders for a player's confidence. And let's be honest, confidence have always been one thing that Jackson needed most. For us, as it's a bit bittersweet. On one hand, we want every player who wears our shirt to succeed. On the other, if Bayern are willing to commit permanently, it means the value of the player is recognized at the highest level. That could either mean a strong sale that helps us reinvest, or it means we end up looking back, thinking we let a potential top striker slip away too early. Personally, I think this is a reminder that not every player develops at the same speed, and not every project fits the chaos of the Premier League. Maybe Jackson at Bayern finds the consistency has been missing here, and if that happens, all we can do is accept that it was the right move for both sides. So that's the video, my friends. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You go be.